life alert. Are you okay?
No, Valerie, I'm not okay. There's a criminal standing in my kitchen threatening me. He's a wanted man, and his name is Saul Goodman.
Ring, 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 ring. Hello?
Say my name.
What?
Say my name.
Tim M. Sullivan?
You're goddamn right.
Better Call Saul. Welcome back to the Bomb Squad Calls Saul for the final rendition of the Bomb Squad Calls Saul, as we'll be discussing episodes 11, 12, and 13 of the final season of Better Call Saul. Lot to discuss, Tim, I think. All three of these episodes are packed.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just get right into it, starting with episode 11. The cheeky one. Episode 11, Breaking Bad. You made a prediction that you think the next three episodes would go back and forth between flashbacks and present times.
Yeah, I was thinking that there might be a little bit of intercutting, at least with like the first two episodes, and then it ended up being all three of them.
Obviously, like the rest of the show, I loved this episode. This one obviously takes place in both the Gene timeline and the Saul timeline. We get a new perspective on Saul getting kidnapped by Walter and Jesse, and Aaron Paul tries to act like he's still in his 20s. Glorious inspiration to 30 and 40-year-old men everywhere.
I did enjoy seeing the flashbacks with Walt and Jesse. They had big Jay and Silent Bob energy in these episodes, in that like it kind of felt like you're at the end of Chasing Amy, and then Jason Mewes is just like, hey yo, Saul Goodman, looks like somebody shitting your cereal.
That's definitely fair. I mean, I do think Bryan Cranston stepped right back into it. Aaron Paul, not as much, but there's only so much you can do because he's older, first off.
Yeah.
And it's hard to go back to a character after, I mean, I guess for him it's only been 3 years, but still. And in the present, the Gene timeline, we see Saul finally make that call. Francesca, turns out that be there at a certain time was just for Saul to call her to check in on what's going on. And we finally got confirmation. Skylar White got her deal. Papa bless. Skylar innocent. Not at all, but just go with it.
I do want to give a quick shout out to that Francesca scene because it continues in a honored tradition of Breaking Bad, which is showing things on television screens that appeal to me specifically. Where in Breaking Bad you'd have scenes where you might see Aqua Teen Hunger Force or Sonic on the TV, and in this episode you see Jackie Chan Adventures on the television, which is amazing. I did not expect to see a Jackie Chan reference on Better Call Saul in the year of our Lord 2022, but God bless, it happened.
And we finally get the hook of what these last three episodes are going to be. Francesca mentions that Kim called, and it's like it all comes rushing back to Gene, his first love, and he calls Kim. Well, at the time, we don't know he's on the phone with Kim. We do know that now. I think you and I were both convinced that it wasn't him talking to Kim in that episode, because we were like, well, they'd show it if it was.
It was more just like, I figured that would be too easy, and like, he seemed oddly angry at the time, which it didn't quite make sense at the time. Like, I figured he was trying to get on the phone with her, and whoever picked up wasn't letting him talk to her, but we know more in the next episode.
Yeah. And in response to this, Saul just fucking full-on relapses, basically, into, honestly, his most despicable cons yet. Just specifically targeting lonely men.
Yeah, he slips into Slippin' Jimmy, and he slips hard.
The con is pretty clever, but it's so depressing seeing him go back into it. And, of course, this episode ends with him breaking into the cancer patient's house after Jeff's friend, grows a fucking conscience.
Guy with cancer can't be an asshole?
Believe me, I speak from experience.
Well, that's where the episode ends. It ends with him breaking in. But my favorite thing about it, though, is that there's a shot of him leaving the taxi cab to break into the house, and it then cuts to a shot of Saul Goodman a few years prior entering the high school to meet with Walter White, and you kind of go, oh, cool. So this is when he made the two worst decisions of his life, back to back. Paralleled.
Just him destroying his life.
Once again, he's good at it. He's real good at that. A few minor notes I wanted to get out there. I like the Walter and Jesse scene in this episode. It kind of shows more perspective on... This whole episode in general shows more perspective on how Saul really saw a big opportunity with Walt. We get to see Mike in the Breaking Bad era, where he's like, yeah, this guy's a fucking loser. Don't work with him. And I love that.
Yeah. It was very funny hearing him compare Walter White to Betamax.
This Heisenberg guy's got something. It's top of the line product. That's the buzz on the street, and I just think with the right management...
Years ago I bought a Betamax. Good product, top of the line. Experts said it was better than a VHS. Turned out to be a complete waste of time and money.
Any stray thoughts about this episode, or can we move on?
I think this one's pretty cut and dry, honestly. So, to answer your question, yep.
God. And that is a reference to our next episode of Waterworks. Kim's back. After missing her for 2 episodes, we finally get to see what her life's like. And goddamn, she seems fucking miserable.
I do think that, like, she did convince herself to be, like, happy in a way in this version of her life. And it kind of, I think, ties back to, like, that line again from Fun and Games where Jimmy says, one day you'll wake up, go to work, and realize you haven't thought about it at all. And, like, I think that she's built this life for herself where she's content because she hasn't thought about it at all, and then she gets that phone call and now she's thinking about it again.
Yeah, and the thing I think is not that Howard died. I think it's that she left Jimmy. That's the thing she's had to not think about, clearly.
Yeah.
I do think in a way, though, Kim has built a sort of prison for herself. The big thing I notice is, do you notice how she refuses to make a single decision? She doesn't make decisions. In any conversation, it's always like, oh, did you hear about this drug? And Kim's just like, oh, yeah, I heard about it. The mayonnaise thing? Oh, Miracle Whip will do, I guess. She doesn't make decisions, and I find that really fascinating. The big thing in this episode, though, is that Kim goes back to Albuquerque and confesses to everything that happened with Howard. Confesses to both the state and to Cheryl. And we get to see Cheryl come back, which is really cool. And what a great scene of her admitting to it.
Yeah, I really, like, reading the statement I thought was great, and then, like, you have that little conversation.
He didn't suffer.
He didn't suffer. The lies you two made up. The picture you painted. That's all he is now. That's all anybody remembers.
It was great to see them kind of get confronted for what they did.
And I love how Kim's like, well, the prosecutors may go after me. I don't know. She's just so broken here, but like, she seems at least a little more energetic in Albuquerque, because I think this is her going on the road to her form of redemption, so to say, which is really good.
Yeah, and like in the Talking Saul thing that aired after it, Ray Seahorn was even talking about, like, they didn't want to show any, like, cracks in her armor until she gets that phone call from Jimmy.
She's gotten so used to the performance she's doing. It is sincere. When she's like, let's sign the kitty cat card, it's real for that moment. And then you shouldn't see the cracks until Jimmy calls her.
And then it gradually starts to chip away until finally that scene on the bus where she just shatters.
She just lets it all out. 6 years of pent-up trauma and grief, and she's finally able to let herself process it.
This is not this episode's letting go. This is 6 seasons, 7 years of her letting go of what she's become, what she has done to herself.
But it's a very powerful shot of Kim just letting 6 years of trauma, 6 years of grief out. And that was some full-on ugly crying. Like, Tim, if Ray Seahorn doesn't win an Emmy for this, I'm gonna fucking kill someone. It could be you. Probably won't be you, but it could be. Hopefully we don't have to get to that point, Tim, right?
I have video evidence now, Tanner.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh god, it's got Saul gone, man.
Oh yeah, the Jesse scene. Like, I think it does add to Kim's direction as a character. Watching it though, I just kind of felt like they wrote this scene in to put Kim and Jesse in a scene together. But I do think it works. It's a fun scene.
This guy, any good?
When I knew him, he was.
Emilio shows up, which means he has the longest gap between appearances in the universe. The last episode he was in, I believe, was episode 2, because his corpse appears in episode 2 of Breaking Bad, to the second to last episode of Better Call Saul, and the motherfucker looks like he hasn't aged a day. It's kind of incredible. Probably because he looked like he was 37 when he was 20, and now that he's 37, he just looks 37. Gene is at his darkest here.
He's already broken into the house. We see him doing the grift and almost killing a man with an urn. Luckily, he passes out, so he doesn't kill him with his own dog's urn. Jeff crashes into a car to divert the cops away from him so that he can escape. That's when Carol Burnett once again gets involved.
Saul calls Carol to let her know, hey, your son's been arrested, and explains how, oh, bail is like this, bail is like Z, blah, 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 here's what we're gonna do. But then he fucks up.
And you don't have to worry about a bondsman either, because guess what? In Omaha, they don't have them, right? You just walk into the station, you pay a straight cash bail. It's not like Albuquerque at all.
And Carol's being like, well, earlier you said you've never been to Albuquerque. Now you intricately know their bail system? And one of the funniest things in the episode, after the look on Jeff's face after he crashes the car, which is the funniest thing. The second funniest thing is Carol just Googling con man Albuquerque, and one of Saul's commercials is the top result. That's just pure gold. Am I right?
Yeah, I was actually like on YouTube the other day, and like one of the top things that came up was a video just titled Con Man in Albuquerque, and it was the Better Call Saul commercial.
Yeah, someone uploaded it after the episode, which was great.
Yeah.
Before someone uploaded that video, if you Googled or YouTube searched Con Man Albuquerque, I don't remember what it was, but it was some Brazilian upload of that Saul Goodman commercial that would pop up. So even before someone uploaded that video, it worked. We have the darkest moment of the show, other than Howard's death, I think, which is when Gene unplugs that modem, starts tying it up like it's a Garrett, and starts approaching Marion, Carol Burnett's character, looking like he's gonna try and kill her. And I'm sitting there watching this live thinking, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. I'm practically screaming it.
Yeah.
And then Carol says,
I trusted you.
and what is left of Jimmy's humanity at this point somehow darts out of him and stops. And Carol calls Life Alert. Saul Goodman got beat by Life Alert, by the way, considering he started off as an elder law kind of lawyer. That is just poetic.
It really shows like how far he's fallen at this point.
He's fallen so far, but he doesn't cross the line into murder, which is the one line throughout the entire show he's refused to cross. He got damn close to it, but he didn't do it. Thank God.
He's still got some semblance of conscience left, and it rises to the surface.
Then he runs, which leads to our series finale, Saul Gone.
So yeah, we open on a flashback, which really introduces the theme of the flashbacks throughout the episode, where it shows Jimmy and Mike, they're in the desert, they find some water, and Jimmy asks him what he would do if he had a time machine. And that's when they kind of start talking about things that they would like to go back and do differently, which recurs throughout the episode. We'll get more into that later.
There's something about Mike's answer, which is Ehrmantraut's final appearance on the show. I love how at first he answers it with the day his son died, but then he quickly changes it to the day he took his first bribe. At first he was thinking, I want to save my son from all of us, and then he thinks, no, I want to save myself and by extension the people I love from this ever happening. And I thought that was really beautiful.
After the cold open, the episode starts with Jimmy on the run, and he doesn't get very far before cops catch him in a dumpster.
Found him in literal garbage, and I thought he was going to get away with it, and then he spills his diamonds. Funny. And I love what the cop says. Anybody home?
Yeah, he just kind of pops his eyes out, and he's up.
You got me.
And this leads to Jimmy in jail, which leads to a very sad scene, in my opinion, which is, what's his one phone call to Cinnabon, just to tell the employees, hey, post a schedule by this time. Also, call corporate and tell them you need a new manager. This is sad for a couple of reasons. Number one, in that moment, Jimmy has nobody. For his one personal call, he's gonna just use it on the Cinnabon. Depressing. And two, it's also depressing because imagine being that Cinnabon employee receiving that call and just being like, well, my boss quit in the middle of the fucking week. Now we don't have a manager, and I have to post the schedule. You've worked in fast food, Tim.
Yeah, that's not a great situation.
And then we have a great moment of Jimmy going full Joker. I'm not gonna lie to him, when he started laughing maniacally in his cell, I was very worried that the writers were gonna go into a fucking stupid, insane direction with him becoming insane or something. I don't know. I think Joker broke me.
I didn't get that, but like I did kind of feel like in this moment he's very much a broken man, and that's where he calls a lawyer.
Bill Oakley. He sees a little thing that says, "My lawyer will ream your ass," which makes him think of Bill, because if you remember in the Breaking Bad episode, Francesca tells him,
Remember Bill Oakley? He switched sides.
He came out, huh?
No, he's not gay. He's a defense attorney now.
I realized what that meant when he saw "My lawyer will ream your ass," is he thought of gay lawyer, and then immediately thought of Bill Oakley. I love how Bill Oakley has kind of become his own Jimmy McGill. He's even answering his own phone calls in such a professional way to try and build up his own practice. It reminded me of season 1 Jimmy. And I love how at first he's like, "Why would I take on this case?" And Jimmy's like, "This will make your career." And this cuts to Jimmy in the prosecutor's office with perhaps the most biggest surprise cameo of the entire show. Tim, you want to take it away here?
Minerals.
The rocks, Hank.
No, they're minerals. Jesus, Marie.
Yeah, Betsy Brandt, Marie Schrader makes a cameo in the show, and this was so unexpected.
Yeah.
And I remember when we get that one quick shot of her, and I literally turned to you and said, "Is that?" And you were like, "Yup,
Yep.
yep,
Yep.
yep, yep, yep." That's actually what I did when I walked into Tim's apartment. We watched the finale together, which was fun. We tried to get Cinnabon.
We went on an adventure, and all the Cinnabuns in our area were closed, so we compromised and got Indian cinnamon nuggets.
It was the closest thing. This leads to Jimmy putting off one great final show with Saul, where he negotiates from 180 plus years.
It wasn't 180 plus years, it was life plus 190.
Okay, good, thank you. It's basically 3 life sentences, and he negotiated down to 7.5 in the prison of his choice.
And that brings us back to episode 2, where he says,
"Hey, I just talked you down from a death sentence to 6 months probation. I'm the best lawyer ever."
Oh, that's one of my favorite moments of the entire show is that line, and it comes to fruition here. He negotiated down hard. And then he's like, "Oh, wait, I want my ice cream." By the way, that was hilarious. The whole "I want my ice cream" thing. And he's thinking, I'm going to tell him about Howard so I can get my ice cream and maybe even another year off or something. And instead, the entire prosecution team's like, "We already know about that, idiot." And something flips. Something switches inside Jimmy. And at first I wasn't quite sure what it was, but what I realized is, in that moment he realized when Kim said, "Turn yourself in," she wasn't saying that as a "fuck you, get out of my life" thing. She was saying that as a, "I want what's better for you. I know the life you're living must be miserable. Do what's right." And in that moment, 1, Jimmy understands what Kim was doing, and 2, it becomes more real to him. The idea of owning up to his actions becomes more real to him. And it leads to a great scene on the plane where Oakley and Saul are like, "Hey, I got some more juice for the prosecution if they're interested."
Let's talk about the Walter scene.
We knew this was coming. This scene shows just how much of a dick Walt is, in my opinion. The whole "I need to fix these pipes," fuck the fact that another guy's trying to sleep in here. And then when Saul brings up, "Hey, what would you do if you have a time machine?" Walt acts like Saul just shot his child. Like it's an offensive question to his very being.
Yeah, this episode, like, it really leans into the fact that Walter White is a fucking asshole. Like, more so than Breaking Bad ever truly did.
Yeah, he treats Saul like shit, and then when he's asked about what his regret is, he looks at the watch with Jesse, which clearly to me indicated that Walt's real regret is how he treated Jesse. And instead he just goes back to the fucking gray matter shit with the most egregious retelling of what happened when he acts like he was fucking forced out of the company, which is not what happened. He got jealous because Gretchen took him to her parents and they were in a higher class than him, and his ego couldn't fucking handle it. But instead he's like, "Oh, I was forced out." And then there's the single line that cuts like a knife. When Jimmy says he would have stopped doing a single slip and fall scheme because it hurt his knees, Walt says,
"So you were always like this."
Oh, you and I watching it together, we both went, "God damn."
Yeah, that one hurted.
That shit hurted. Courtroom scene.
courtroom scene. He's got the drip.
Yeah, first off, dripped out 7 Ways to Sunday. Fucking love it. And this is the scene where Saul Goodman basically kills himself to save Jimmy McGill's soul.
There was a shot that I didn't notice this the first time I watched it, but I rewatched it earlier today, and I really appreciated just like the incredible cinematography where Jimmy looks back at Kim and she's literally in the crosshairs of the bench.
That was so good. Here's what happens. Saul starts his spiel saying, oh, I was coerced by Walter White. And I remember saying to you thinking, oh God, he's gonna fuck him. He's gonna bring Kim down with him or something. And instead, he starts, for the first time in a long time, to tell the truth. How he saw how much money he could have made. How Walt would have been nothing without him. And that's true. Walter White's entire criminal enterprise would have hit a fucking road gap the second they couldn't get Badger out of jail. And then the entire time, Bill Oakley's like, please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Meanwhile, the prosecution's like, Your Honor, please let him keep going. Because they're sitting here thinking, oh, we're gonna nail this fucking scumbag. Because he's going against his plea deal agreement, which means we can get him way longer. We can really win this case. And then this beautiful moment happens where Jimmy finally admits to fucking with Chuck's insurance, something he hasn't told a soul. And it cuts to this shot that parallels the chicanery shot of the exit sign and him talking.
We got a new counter. We got the Saul counter.
Finally coming to terms with what he did with Chuck and how he drove Chuck to suicide. And then at the end when they address him as Mr. Goodman, he's like,
The name's McGill. I'm James McGill.
James McGill. Saul is dead. Saul is gone now. Saul's gone. And it's such a beautiful scene. And then there's this one part where he looks back at Kim and he has that sort of sad smile that Bob Odenkirk's so good at.
It's a great redemption moment. He's going to prison, but he's about to live his best Paddington 2 life by very quickly befriending everybody in the prison.
We're gonna get to the moment that almost got you evicted from your apartment, Tim.
So Chuck comes up on the screen and Tanner very loudly yells, Yo!
I just got so excited, man. We got to see Chuck one last time, and this scene, I've been thinking about this scene a lot. We all, Chuck fucking sucks. Chuck is a dick. I think this scene really recontextualizes a lot of their relationship. I know that seems silly because it's so small, but what I notice is when Chuck says, why don't you stay and talk about your clients, I realize something. I think that was Chuck's last attempt at genuinely, truly trying to connect with Jimmy. Would Chuck have ever let him in at HHM? No. He probably wouldn't have, but he was trying. He was genuinely trying to make a connection there. And as I've discovered, I think this scene takes place the day before the pilot, Uno, because in that one, Jimmy makes a crack about
Financial Times.
I knew you missed it, so I figured what the heck.
And in this episode, he talks about how
I'll see you tomorrow, Chuck. And I might have the Financial Times.
And we see that the book that Jimmy gave Chuck is The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, tying back into this theme that all the flashbacks had. And I realized that this is the time machine moment for Jimmy. He wishes he could go back, stay, and talk to Chuck. Things probably would have gone differently. And I think for Chuck, it's the same thing. I know Chuck's dead, but maybe in his final moments, he's wishing he could have gone back to that moment and insisted to Jimmy more that he stay. But they also have the little flaws. How Jimmy, even though he's doing it, kind of treats taking care of Chuck like this weird burden he's taking on, which it is. But he doesn't have to be so obvious about it, and Chuck makes a crack about how the clients deserve the best defense possible. It shows what they were, it shows the best of what they were, it shows the worst of what they were, and it shows how, with just a tiny thing changed, things could have ended up differently. And then this cuts to the scene that, so, Tim, I'm unfortunately going to let you know what the fandom thinks. And by the fandom, I mean a small minority online, even within the fandom. Some people do not like the prison bus scene.
Yeah, I read some things. People think it's dumb. I think it rules.
I also think it rules, but at the same time, it literally reads like a Reddit shit post I read word for word where someone says, Jimmy McGill's on a bus, and someone points to him, you're Better Call Saul! And then when that literally happened in the episode, I don't remember if I laughed or not, Tim, but I wanted to at least, because it was so absurd what I was watching.
Oh yeah, it was very funny. When they all started stomping in unison, I did have this thought of, am I about to see a riot? Is the Better Call Saul riot about to happen?
But I think what this shows is that it's the first sign that it helps communicate that, sure, Jimmy's going to spend the rest of his life in prison probably, but it's not going to be that bad because he's going to have the admiration of respect of basically every prisoner in there. I mean, am I right?
Yeah, like I alluded to earlier, he's living his best Paddington 2 life. He's working the bread machine, just baking and getting along with all of the fellow inmates. And then we get a nice scene where he gets to visit with Kim in prison, and they share a smoke, which is the one thing in this episode that's in color amongst the black and white stuff.
Goes hard.
And let me tell you, this scene has so much fucking sexual tension.
I talked to you about how him grabbing the lighter from her hands, which, by the way, that's so multifaceted. Kim's hands are shaking, and Jimmy grabs them to let her know that they're going to be okay, that he's going to be okay, and helps light the cigarette in his mouth. I think I literally messaged you this earlier today. Him holding her hands there is basically the equivalent of full-on penetration.
Yeah, that scene was very horny in the best of ways.
And it paralleled the beginning of the show, literally. What I really loved is that in the first episode of the show, when they're doing the smoking and it's the same cinematography, the lighting in the first scene of the show is going from left to right, going down a slope, while in this scene it's going left to right, up a slope. The first episode representing this is the climb, this is the descent into darkness, with this episode being the ascent into the light. Kim's there, and basically without saying it, Kim's like, I love you, and I'm always going to love you. And it shows that Better Call Saul was ultimately, at its core, one of the best love stories in the history of television, if you ask me. Jimmy and Kim is just, that's a romance made in heaven. And then Kim leaves, see each other while she's leaving. He's in the courtyard. Throws her one last thing of finger guns. Kim kind of does the finger guns a little bit back, but not too explicitly. And then the last shot is Jimmy just standing there, so Wall starts to cover him. I thought the last shot was just beautiful, fitting. Jimmy got his happy ending, but not his too happy ending. He went to prison, Walt died, Jesse escaped, so you got your three major outcomes when it comes to crime there.
Yeah, like I tend to like bittersweet endings better than like purely happy or purely sad. I would say this falls more into like the bittersweet camp than either of those other two, but like it's still a fairly happy ending. Like he got the punishment for everything he's done, but like it's still kind of optimistic.
Yeah. And Jimmy and Kim both say they think after this Kim visits at least once a year.
Oh, they fucking.
And how maybe Jimmy gets out when he's an older man and they get to spend the last of their years together. He also proved that he could have done the greatest plea deal ever. He proved he could have done it, and then he just blew it up, and he got the fuck over Bill Oakley one last time. Any final thoughts on the show as a whole?
I went into the show at first not having much expectations for it. Pretty immediately was impressed by it. Like I mentioned, that car crash in season 3, that even inspired me as a filmmaker to make my senior thesis film. I think that there's just a lot of really great stuff in this show. A lot of people make the debate of which is better, Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, and I don't really think either show is better. I think they're doing different things, but they're both equally valid and both great. This show was much more than I expected it to be, and I think it had a great ending.
Just to reiterate, like you said, I like how you're talking about how there's a debate about which is better. I don't know. I don't think I can call one better or the other, but I do know I can say I like Better Call Saul more. I really do. The few minor nitpicks I have with Breaking Bad mostly relate to its final season and how I think it went a little too easy on Walter. With this one, I think Saul got the punishment he deserved. The show as a whole is really in-depth character-wise. Not that Breaking Bad didn't have great character work, but it was more about those spontaneous action, pulpy moments, while this one has always been about the slow burn character drama. As it stands, I honestly think Better Call Saul is, if not my favorite TV show ever, it's my second favorite. So it's either this or The Good Place for favorite overall. Two fantastic shows, and this one is just incredible. But, you know who else is incredible, Tim?
Your mom.
You! 2. Thank you oh so very much for watching. We hope you've enjoyed the Bomb Squad Calls Saul overall. Go down to the comment section below and let me know. What do you think of Better Call Saul Season 6? What do you think of Better Call Saul overall? Do you think the finale nailed it? And finally, fuck Chuck, yes or no? Hit the like button so we know how much you like us. Hit the subscribe button so you know how much you love us. And hit the bell icon so you can know exactly when we upload new videos. Thank you so very much for watching, guys. If you are craving Bomb Squad legal content, we'll be doing She-Hulk soon, which is kind of a legal show, so stay tuned for that. And stay tuned for any other stuff we do here in the future, all right? See you guys next time. Bye.
Farewell.
Better Call Saul.
And then she has sex with a guy that just... Yup.
Yep.
Yup.
Yep.
Yup.
Mm-hmm.
I messaged you during this episode and saying if someone said yep over and over again while having sex with me, I'd kill them. I would kill them. Would you kill them, Tim?
You!